What's up, hobby friends, and welcome back to Paint Bravely, the podcast where you can find a little bit of encouragement, discover new ways to make your hobby more fun, and most importantly, learn to paint bravely. At least we'd like to think so. Today, I think we got some fun stuff, and again, I do say that every time. It's almost like an automatic at this point, because I just have so much fun doing hobby. But we got some painting stuff to talk about, some actual paint manufacturing stuff to talk about, and it's just random hobby stuff. So let's get right into it and check it out on Brent over here, pouring your orange drink.
Yeah, orange drink today.
Yeah.
For those listening at
tasty.
home, orange drink today. All right.
Using a rule book as a coaster.
Yeah. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I was getting some B-roll, and I put down a big old neoprene mat on my big old table here, and it's a nice mat. I like it here on the table. The cats haven't ruined it yet, but I don't want to be getting it all sticky with orange drink. So
right. So use a good war game rule book as a
using
coaster.
My Saga rule book as a coaster. Yep.
It's a good alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you're wondering why Brent has a Saga rulebook out, Brent has a Saga game in 24 hours. So
all right.
Brent has to read at least a few paragraphs.
To see what you're actually going to be doing.
Yeah. So this is Saga. We're playing the Age of Vikings version. So model agnostic game. It is based on these, proprietary dice. They're just D6s, but they've got 3 runes on each dice, and you use the roll of the dice kind of lets you charge up your ability page here. So this is
I like that.
The Anglo-Saxons ability page, and this is essentially everything you can do on a turn. So like each of your units gets 1 die. You roll, whatever, 4 units, 4 dice. And then based on the runes you get, you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I have this ability available to me, and this one, and this one. So you like kind of put your dice on the battle board. And that's all the special rules. Other than that, you just run at the enemy and roll some regular old D6s for attacks and such. But it is a model agnostic game. And I procrastinated, so for my Anglo-Saxons, I will just be using some very old Bretonnians.
Oh, man.
Which
that fits perfectly.
Close enough, but
yeah.
I've got my buddy Alex's collection of Bretonnians, and
convenient.
There's a couple models mixed in there that I painted, and at the time, I wouldn't say I was a better painter, but I was a neater painter, maybe. Cared more about, covering all the white spots of the primer and that sort of stuff.
You mean compared to him or compared to now?
Compared to him, I still care about covering the primer. Like that hasn't gone away with age.
That's good. I think that's probably something, as you grow as a miniature painter, you want to make sure cover the primer. It's a good goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right before we recorded, I was going down like, man, I need a unit of 12 Levy bowmen. Well, I've got more than 12 Bretonnian bowmen, I'll tell you that. And I was going through and kind of picking the 12 I wanted, and it was pretty funny because I was able to pick this son up, and this was, Brent painted this in 2001. Alex painted this one in 2001. Like. Well, I need to have them both in there because I don't have that many of them.
Right.
They're both going right in the unit. Yeah.
Man, yeah. Are they, they're old paintings, right? So is it decent, or is it like, old
fine.
painting?
It's painted. It's goblin green bases, and they're primed and painted, They're
nice.
A few of them I did eyes on. And they're pretty funny. They're pretty funny, actually.
I bet.
Very beady, very beady.
Mm-hmm.
So something
just like
that
wide
you
open.
Learn. Yes, exactly. Yeah. If you think about it, or if you're an observer of people, you'll notice that you can't actually see the whites of people's eyes above and below the
yeah.
above and
Unless
below
they're
the
just
iris. Yeah,
wide open. Just like, oh my God, they're coming for me.
That archer just loosed an arrow, and he was not happy about where that went. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I got a lot of those for sure. Yeah. It reminds me though, I've been working on this new video, and one of the things that I talked about, because I kind of just went through doing a bunch of speed paint stuff, and like I don't know, just felt different like painting this time. And I was thinking back about old armies and old paint jobs, and like like clearly a painted mini is always better than a non-painted model, but it occurred to me that like I've never had a negative experience like more so playing a war game when the models are painted even really badly, like on both sides. It's not like it makes the game worse. It always makes it better.
Oh, sure.
Like it could be a terrible paint job, but it always makes the game better. So that's kind of the basis of the video I've been working on. And it's just, yeah, like you can pull out a model, an old Bretonian, goblin green base and everything, and still be like, yes, even with the beady, stupid eyes. Like, yeah, that'll do. Like, it's just going to make the game better.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And from just a little bit of a distance, it's fine. It's fine.
Exactly.
Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, you're standing back quite a ways. You can't really see his eyes. And even then, his eyes are pointed at the other guy. So if anything, you're freaking that guy out, not yourself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It could be a tactical advantage, if you will.
Yeah. But it makes me wonder what that guy accidentally shot, because he is very upset and worried about it.
It's, that you somehow pull it back and then let go of the wrong hand, it goes backwards. And yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Sure, I'm sure there's a
super wide eye
with that.
And at least half the unit is doing that. So
yes, exactly.
As you're sitting there at home listening to this, maybe painting bravely yourself. Make that iris a little bit bigger. Make it touch the top of the eye socket. You don't want any white above the iris. Little corner of beige to the side of the dark dot in the eye, and that'll look a little bit better. Yeah. Yeah.
If anything, I have a pretty decent eyeball painting tutorial that has a Photoshop explanation.
Yeah, you do.
That like works pretty good. Yeah.
Do you remember what video that's part of, Casey?
Yeah, actually I think it's called Faces, or it's something that's like Faces or something important, something Warhammer. I don't know. But it's got a big disgusting face of like Ragnar Blackmane on the front, and it just looks like bacon on his face. So that's pretty recognizable thumbnail.
Okay, it was the Ragnar video. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I have a blog about that specifically at miniaturerescues.com that it goes over the whole thing. Has the video, the Photoshop portions of that video. Yeah, but painting eyes, it's hard. It's hard. It doesn't really get easier, I don't think. Like you just end up spending more time to make it look less bad. That's about it.
I actually think there's just a few relatively straightforward rules to make it not look terrible. Like,
yeah, I mean having the iris touch the top and the bottom for sure.
A round iris that touches the top and the bottom of the eye socket, a little corner of beige on either side, and as long as you are in any way approaching symmetry, they'll probably be all right.
Yeah, that's true. As long as they're mostly faced in the same direction. Yeah.
But again, you get those irises too big, because a lot of times it's a black dot that kind of represents the iris and the pupil all in one. Yeah. But you get that black dot too big, then it's just looking like a big old pupil, and then you really mess up for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Too much dot, no good. Too much white, eye white, not good. It's a delicate balance. You gotta.
Well, like I try and avoid it whenever I can. Like there are some models where the eyes are big enough where it's, a more important model, shall we
Sure.
say. So I do try on those things. But for the most part, like I was painting these what are they, goblins on wolves
Ooh.
for Underworlds. And like most goblins, it's like, oh, the whole eye, everything in there is just red, like red eyes on goblins works. For most other models, they'll just fill it in white and then kind of glaze over or put in like an ink or something of a color. And then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, look, magical glowy eyes because they're from the future or they're magical. So, yeah, like I like doing that because you generally don't see the eyes anyways. And then if you're holding the model, it's kind of like, oh, that's pretty neat. It doesn't look stupid. So, that's a good way to go.
Right on. Yeah, I like those wolves.
The wolves are good.
I like those goblins.
Yeah. The goblins riding the wolves. Yeah, I've had them in a Ziploc bag for like 5 years. Well, I don't know. They haven't been out that long, but like 3 years maybe. I don't know. And I just haven't. I don't know. I haven't really known what to do with them. So they've just been sitting in this plastic bag, like in a corner. And they've gone through a move now, and I just kind of was going through a bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, these sweet these Wolf Rider guys. In fact, I went and dug them out of the back of my van last week and brought them inside finally. Been in my van for like 9 months. Yeah, because I was moving, and so I packed a bunch of stuff in my van, and I packed this big, it's like plastic pull out drawers and stuff, the cheapy ones. Yeah. So I had a ton of hobby stuff in there, and I was looking for something else, and I came across those. I got models in the weirdest places around here, and I just keep finding them now that we've moved. So I'll like open a box randomly and be like, oh, there's the sprue for whatever thing I was looking for, and had to make something up, like making up parts and pieces for stuff that's missing, and I did that several times, and then definitely found the sprue later. So
That's what
yeah,
happens when
moving
you move.
sucks.
Everything's
sucks.
in boxes somewhere.
Yeah.
It's funny to me that the box was still in your van, but yeah, everything's in boxes somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
And by the end, you're
unfortunately,
not labeling well anymore. Yeah.
oh, not even a little bit. No.
Yeah.
Although I have gone a little bit. It's been better lately. I went and bought a bunch of plastic boxes, and I filled them. So at least I know where most everything is. Now there's still cardboard boxes that are just filled with sprues and parts and models. I couldn't tell you what was in there. So eventually I'll get around to like doing the organization, but I don't know. It's at this point, I'll have to take a picture of the ridiculous nature of my storage room at this point, because it's getting out of hand. It just is. And I'm not sure what to do about it right now. That might be it'll be a whole project. Like magnetize everything, build everything, get it put somewhere. It's gonna have to happen, and I'm gonna have to make a video about it to make myself do it.
Yeah, you
So,
gotta
someday.
get rid of the sprues. It's the sprues that take up the most room.
Yeah, just I'll sit there and snip them
Yep.
and cut them, put them in another box.
Yep, that's the trick.
I don't know if I can bring myself to that one.
Oh, did you see the news? Games Workshop, at least in the UK, is trying out a recycling program.
I saw that. I didn't read too much into it. Somebody mentioned it on Twitter and tagged me in a post. I'm like, well, recycling is good,
Yeah,
but they're
recycling
also
seems
asking.
good.
They're asking for old models too. So does that mean they're like paying you for the plastic, or
No.
then I don't see why
I-
anybody would give away to games, just back to Games Workshop. Like, even if it was a messed up model, like I'm not recycling that. It's still usable.
You would much rather rescue that model than have that go back in a recycling bin. I know you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I figure the only way that it can't be is if it was smashed and burned and melted to the point where it was just a pile of plastic. And even then, pretty sure you could use that. Yeah. Like, there's a little hand poking out of the melty bits. Like, there you go. It's basic material. Yeah. Why would you get rid of that? I don't know. So I get the spruce. I think that's great. I don't know what they're planning on using it for. I know they can reuse the spruce to melt down.
So I read a little bit of the article, most of the article. I read the article. You know what? I read the article. I did. I'll come out there and admit it.
Like there's something wrong with that. You did your research.
They're not using it. They're not using the plastic to go back into models.
Okay.
Which is fair enough. Like any recycling stream, you're gonna get people throwing like their ice cream in there or something. You're
for
gonna,
sure. Yeah.
Any recycling stream has some percentage of just stuff that should not be in there. Mm-hmm. And when I was talking to Archon Studio, they say they can chop up all of their like miscast sprues and stuff like that, and they can include like up to, I think, like 10%, or like easily they can include up to like 10% of previously cast material. I assume there's like plasticizers or something in there, or a little bit of degradation as a result of the heating process. But so Games Workshop is not going to take that recycling stream and put it back into models. It sounds like they set up like Terra Recycling or something, which sounds like it might be actually affiliated with Games Workshop. Terra can just mean Earth, but Terra also means Earth in the 40K universe. Yeah. So
I'm sure they would have branded the entire process of recycling to fit the Warhammer universe in some way.
Sure. So it wasn't clear what the material was going to, but it was like going to something else. The way you recycle shoes and it becomes rubber mats or whatever. Like, so it didn't sound like the material was in any way going into the hobby. It's just that material is going to be put to some other use, and cool.
Yeah,
good.
That seems good. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. It sounded like it was a combined stream of sprues, old models you don't want, and just don't do that. Send them to Casey. If you want to offload like old models, send them to Casey. Don't give them back to Games Workshop. You're just ruining the secondhand market if you're
seriously, like, is that their plan? That's Games Workshop's plan.
I wonder if there's just a little nugget of that in there, but
I wouldn't be surprised, because like, what are they going to do with them?
Don't throw away models. Don't throw away models. Just don't do it. Don't throw away models, and don't recycle models. Like a corollary of don't throw away models is don't recycle your models.
It means don't get rid of them unless you're giving them away. Yeah. Or someone is paying you for them.
Give them to a small child or to Casey.
Yeah.
Or
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Or your friend. But I'm down.
Yeah. Don't give them to the recycling bin and if you live in America or anywhere that's not like 10 specific hobby shops in Great Britain. Did I use Great Britain correctly? Probably didn't. Is it England? Are the 10 hobby shops in England? Are they in Britain? Great Britain? There's any in Wales?
The greater British area?
The Isles? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Don't leave anything in the comments. Nobody cares. Yeah, okay. The United
it's a kingdom. It's united. Yeah. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Right. But what I was saying is, like, it's a combined stream of sprues, but also empty paint pots. And it was kind of funny. The article's like, I'm sorry, we can't recycle any material from, sprues from like other companies. And of course they just had to write, we can't recycle, we can't recycle sprues from other companies. And of course the typewriter monkey there had to put in, because our plastic is too pure and high quality. And then the next
guys,
come on, it's the same polystyrene pellets that every other plastic company is using. Come on.
Yeah, yes, that they're buying from the same company.
It's minor. It's tiny. It's tiny. It's a little thing, but just
is
like...
it? Yes.
I'm sorry, we can't recycle anything from Mantic or Warlord games because our plastic is of too high quality and too high, pure. The purity
honestly,
is too high.
It just makes it sound like whatever they're going to do with it is not necessarily recycle it, like for, I don't know, environmental reasons or for reusability and repurposing. It's for profit. Like, why would you say that?
To be fair, there are a few other types of plastic around. Like
right, but are they non-recyclable?
The training of consumers to recycle properly, like so much material that gets put into recycling bins has to be thrown out because somebody threw their hamburger in there, you know.
Sure.
But also because so many people will throw in like the wrong types of materials too. But like, I could see, depending on what the process is, if you're throwing, resin nubs in there, or if you're throwing in like, PVC model bits or something like that. I don't know exactly what their process is, but something like that could be a problem. But just polystyrene from a different model company, especially because it sounds like they're just, grinding it up to make, I don't know, gym mats
something
or something.
Else.
Yeah. Or whatever it is. But it was interesting because they're like, you cannot put anything else in there because our plastic is of too high quality. But in the next sentence, it's like, and you can also throw your old paint pots in there. Don't worry if there's still paint in the pot. That'll all get recycled in the same process. Like, the acrylic will all get,
it'll all get burned up and yeah.
But no, that's I am curious to see like if they're able to expand the program, if it's successful enough that they put that other places, like just getting people in the habit of just recycling as much as they can is cool. And especially if you're someone who is kind of accumulating a lot of sprues, if there's a guiltless way to get rid of that pile, hey, awesome.
I mean,
maybe it'll go make some gym mats or whatever it's going to make. Cool.
At least in the United States, like most states have recycling programs set up. Like I recycle 96 gallons every other week, right? Like I don't know. I throw my sprues in there. Are they? I don't know if they're being used, but
they are
recyclable material.
It's recyclable material. I don't even know what like number plastic it is. So a lot of plastic is stamped on the bottom with a little recycling triangle, and then there's a number in the center. And I think I checked, and the paint pots are number 5 plastic, which off the top of my head I don't know what that is, and I don't know what recyclable number polystyrene is either. But yeah, it depends on your local municipality, like what the recycling stream does. I think I looked into it once, and my local stream doesn't take hard plastic polystyrene. So who knows, that you might have just thrown a hamburger into your recycling bin.
I mean, nobody's complained. They take it every time. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure. But man, that makes me so angry. Like, there was an apartment complex that I lived at for a while, and not all apartments have this, but this apartment did have a big old dumpster for trash, and next to it, a big old dumpster for recycling. And it was always just bags of trash in the recycling dumpster, and it would make me so upset because I would have spent like all this time sorting my recycling, and like in my apartment I had the different bins, and I just go out there and just be like,
well, that was pointless.
That's a Happy Meal. That's a damn it. Like,
I mean, it could have just been the Happy Meal box, which is
it was not
recyclable. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, if they have a recycling stream that does something worthwhile with paint pots and their high quality, super pure sprues, cool.
Yeah.
I think the number of people who actually get to a bottom of a paint pot is very low. The number of people
unless you
who recognize
transfer.
that it's completely dry. Oh. Actually, wait, that probably happens a lot. People taking their terrible paint pots, putting them into much better dropper bottles, and then just coming into Games Workshop with like 30 of their stupid pots and throwing them in the bin.
I mean,
Yeah.
I did that. I did probably 50 or 60 paints.
Yeah.
And just, tossed all the pots after I took the labels off, of course, and reused those. Threw it in the recycling. Yeah.
I mean, for all of this, I'd say, like, if you're burning more than a liter of petrol to get to the Games Workshop to do your recycling, you're not doing the environment any favor. Like, if you're burning more than half a liter of petrol to get there with your giant pile of sprues, you're still not doing the environment any favors. But if you were going to the Games Workshop anyway to get the new Warhammer Underworlds warband, then sure, bring your 7 empty
if
paint
you're going
pots
anyways,
with you.
Don't go out of your way. Yeah.
Like, seriously, if you burned 5 liters of petrol to get to the and I keep describing it that way to try to communicate with the Great Britaners,
I mean, I have a feeling they can translate, but that's
the nation of England and Wales. There's one of them where you have to say "and Wales" at the end, right? The Kingdom of Britain and England and Wales.
I mean, technically, there's like a Prince of
parts
Wales,
of Ireland,
right?
but not Scotland. Never Scotland.
Yeah, right. Parts of people who accept it, I guess. I don't know, in Ireland. Depends on the year.
Gotta watch Braveheart again. I just keep brush up on these things.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Did we have something to talk about today?
I mean, we had a lot of hobby stuff. That was tangentially related, I guess. Recycle bravely, as they say. Yeah. But have you been doing any painting?
I got my speed paints here. Yeah. I've been doing a little speed painting on some Conquest minis is one of the things I've been up to. But
yes.
We'll talk more about that later. That's not exciting. That's
okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, don't want to overload the people with the Conquest.
You'll see. You'll all see.
I know. Yeah. Speaking of Conquest, though, I do have to get some Conquest done. I really do. Haven't touched it since I built it. But yeah.
I hear that. But no, that's the whole point of speed paint, is to just get this done. I'm slap chopping,
Yeah. Are you you're just using the airbrush to zenithal and then doing it? You're not dry brushing it?
No. So much of what I do is to avoid mean comments on the internet. So in this case, I zenithaled, I primed with a rattle can, zenithaled with a rattle can, and used my dry brush. And I figure if I do that enough times, I build up enough internet karma of dealing with a rattle can.
Right.
So I don't get the comment of, oh, airbrush, unsubscribe. Like, you gotta...
Have you actually had that happen? I mean, is that a thing that happens?
I frequently get a comment that, frequently get a comment like, oh, it was a good video, and then he pulled out an airbrush. Goodbye. Like, goodbye. And maybe I should not be changing any of my activities to cater to those people, but
I mean, yes, that's
for real. Most people do not own an airbrush, and I do want to be showing the accessible ways of doing all this, and
sort of fair.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think we've come to a point in this hobby where, I mean, especially on YouTube, right? Like, almost everybody is using an airbrush pretty consistently.
I think there's a subset of viewers who get frustrated with that, and I think that's reasonable, actually. Like, remembering before we were internet YouTubers, we didn't start. Not everybody starts with an airbrush.
No, I certainly didn't, and I watched
No.
a lot of videos that I remember searching for videos that did not have airbrush in them.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I was like, oh,
Exactly.
well, I don't want to have to wade through that. But at the same time, it kept popping up and it kept popping up, and old Kenny over here is yelling at me to get an airbrush. It's easy, so I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, this is better. Like, this is the better way to go.
Yeah, I think relatively early on in your hobby journey, an airbrush is a wonderful investment as long as you have the place to use it. Like, you have a place that's, basement, garage, room where you're not constantly breathing the vapors. I don't know. Like, you got a place to use it.
Even then.
But at the same time, for many years, I was both a child without the cash flow for an airbrush, and then I was a person living in an apartment and didn't want to necessarily push the limits of my the patience of my neighbors.
Yeah, that's fair. Pumping up the old compressor every 2 seconds.
Exactly. That which I get used to, and I'm fine with. But if that's just going on the other side of the wall, and yeah.
I mean, I get the like fringe circumstances, right?
But I think it is the case that most people who watch our videos do not yet own an airbrush, and so just from time to time, I do try to go back to basics and prime with a rattle can and dry brush to get the zenithal set up or the slap chop set up, So that's what I'm doing, and it definitely takes longer. But I'm building up that karma, and I'm getting that video footage so later when I just use an airbrush, I'll be like, yeah, look, but you can use a dry brush. See,
see, that's usually how I say it. It's like, I'm doing this with an airbrush. You can easily, dry brush this if you don't have an airbrush. Like, that's.
Yep.
It's so fast. Even though ironically, I just made a video where I zenithal primed these goblins with the airbrush, and I did not mention the dry brush. But I also don't care, so I don't care.
But anyway,
like, I think if you watch enough videos,
you asked if I zenithaled with an airbrush, and not this time is the answer. And if it were just me and I wasn't worried about what people would say about me on the internet, I would have just quietly myself zenithal highlighted with my airbrush and a little bit of Liquitex white ink. It would have been smooth and nice and quick.
Yeah. You know what the big brain move would have been, though, is to film a single model being dry brushed and then actually use your airbrush for the rest of them. Just throwing that out there. Nobody would have questioned it. Like, wow, your dry brushing is so smooth. Like, I know.
Oh, big brain really here. Yeah.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Wow. There you go, audience. Casey lies to his viewers. He will say he's doing something one way and then do it a completely different way. So,
I mean, that's not a lie if I'm literally doing it that way and then just not doing it that way for the rest of the models. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Agree to disagree on you lying to your audience, Casey. Yeah.
Like, there needs to be a poll. Something needs to happen. Like, how many of you own an airbrush? Just raise your hand.
Yeah, raise your hand if you own an airbrush. Yeah. I don't care where you are. I don't care what you're doing. Raise your hand if you own an airbrush.
Yeah, raise it. Exactly. Yeah. High enough so I can see it. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that's very scientific. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
I mean, it's foolproof. Yeah.
Casey, did you watch the MS Paints video today?
Yes, I did. Good old Dave, like rating in on the Duncan's Too Thin Coats laboratory.
Tell
That
the
was a
viewers.
good video. Oh, I thought you said something else. That's weird.
Sorry, tell the listeners. Yes, tell the listeners.
Well, both, but I thought you said hello viewers. Like, oh, that's good.
Hello,
Dave,
viewers.
Good for Dave. That's great. I'm glad he got this. Yeah, so Dave from MS Paint went in and basically did a whole tour of the Transatlantis Games warehouse. It was pretty sweet. Like, I did not realize that, first of all, they were as small of an operation. Like, I knew they weren't huge, but they are a very tiny operation. It's like 6 people, right, that actually work on the floor. And I mean, they've come up with some stuff. Let me tell you, if you have not seen this video,
tell them
some pretty fancy engineering feats to like screw bottle caps onto things and flip paint bottles over to make that assembly line proper, and like all this handmade stuff. It's like plywood screwed together with parts on it to like bottle this paint, and they're doing it all pretty much by hand, and it's kind of insane, honestly. Like, after watching your video, Brent, of touring the army painter in Denmark, it's like, oh, that's a pretty sweet facility. They got the machines, they got the things, you get the, you know, how stuff works, like montages going on all over the place. And it's like, wow, okay. Like, that's a big leap from where they're at. But they're still bottling apparently a decent amount of paints doing it that way.
For
so,
sure.
Like, hats off.
Yeah. So on the last episode, I was saying that I went to Denmark for reasons, but the reason I went was to see the army painters factory floor, basically, and make a little behind the scenes video there. And at the army painter, it is now a company of about 75 employees. They bottle a lot of paint there, and they actually have I think they actually have 4 lines. When I was there, 3 of them were up and running, but they have 3 lines where if, you know, they have a person like minding each of the lines, but if the person were to walk away, at least until one of the hoppers ran out or like something messed up or whatever, like that machine would take a pile of empty bottles, a bucket of paint at the back, a pile of, you know, dropper tips, a pile of dropper caps, and then, you know, a roll of labels. And that machine, operating entirely on its own, would do the assembly line. Robots would run the assembly line, and that bucket of paint would be empty, and you would have, you know, at one end, an overflowing box filled, capped, and labeled bottles of paint. So the human is there to make sure that the machine has everything it needs and that the machine is happy and healthy. But the machine is doing all of the actual bottling. I mean, the human is doing a lot to make sure that all the hoppers are filled and everything. But like,
you got to feed the machine.
Yeah, you can set it up and flip a switch and walk away, and in theory get, I don't know what the actual number is, but like 1,000 bottles of paint before like something probably goes wrong or something runs out or whatever. But And so this week that we're recording, I got that video out and it's like, hey, here's behind the scenes at the army painter. This is how they bottle paint. This is pretty cool. Like a lot of cool engineering here. Talented people, cool engineering. And just by luck, I did not know this was happening, but the Pickle Jar and MS Paint both went to the Transatlantis Games facility in Bootle, Britain. Bootle, United Kingdom, and they Dave from MS Paints got a lot of really cool shots of the way that this company is bottling paints for Two Thin Coats, but this is a company of 6 employees. And it is also a company that's, essentially only been bottling paints. I think some of them have prior experience doing this, but like this company bottling paints since the first Duncan Kickstarter about a year ago. So they're generously just starting like year 2 of being a company. They have 6 employees, and they have figured out reasonably efficient ways to do everything in that assembly line, from flipping the bottles right side up to squirting paint in there to bottle caps and labels. But it is certainly not like a single robotic assembly line. It's like there's a station for this operation, there's a station for this operation, and they each have varying degrees of human involvement, and the machines are like helping the humans, absolutely. And some of the machines are one of the machines is nice and modern and fancy looking. The labeler machine,
the labeler,
looks real spiffy. But the rest of the machines are pretty bootleg looking. Like they're ingenious. They're custom
taking
made.
Parts of Dremels and little levers to push down, and then the Dremel turns on as you push it down, and it spins the cap and tightens it. Like you lift it up, it turns out like all handmade.
Yeah,
just so you don't have to sit there and screw the bottle caps on, because that would wreck you.
It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And so I 100% recommend that you go check out, honestly, both of those videos, but especially MS Paint there with the tour of the Two Thin Coats facility. And 2 facilities essentially doing the same thing, mixing paint and then bottling it, but you can just see what it looks like when you have 15 years of investment in the equipment and growth versus if you're on year 2
and you're bootstrapping it, trying to get it to work.
Bootstrapping it, and hey, you gotta start somewhere. And honestly, for the Kickstarter was $1 million, right? But $1 million isn't going to buy 4 custom robotic assembly lines with
I think
the
so.
people
Yeah,
to
it was
run them
1.1 or something. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a smaller operation at this point, and so of course it has to be smaller and bootleg and a little more elbow grease, but they were getting it done, and there was a lot of creativity in the ways that they were using the machines to help the people. It was great.
Yeah.
Great.
Honestly, it makes me root for them even more, because it's like, oh yeah, they're putting the time and the effort in to try to do something that they technically they don't have the machines to do it, and they're just like, no, we're gonna make the machines. We're just gonna do it anyway.
Awesome.
So good. Yeah,
I love to see that. And when I was at the Army Painter, I mean, a small corner of the warehouse did have some of their old equipment in it, and some of it was similar to what we saw there in that video from Two Thin Coats. There were definitely some machines there, like filling machines, where there was definitely that lever, the pull lever that somebody was pulling, and I'm not sure what each of those did, but there was definitely like, oh yeah, somebody stood here and pulled the lever. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that as a warehouse type company, you go through phases of equipment and all these things, and it's like, well, you got to start here. That's what you got to do. It's it's like working out of your garage and boxing up products or whatever. Like, that's just how it goes. You box them up by hand until you're like, okay, I need to figure something else out, because by doing that, we are then going to, start to multiply and grow.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as Too Thin Coats really starts to get out there, and especially because they were picked up by Asmodee last year for distribution, it's like, yeah, they're going to have to bottle a lot of paints, but with that is going to come those upgrades, I'm sure. Like, I would have to imagine. So, yeah, but pretty crazy to see, like, so early on. Awesome that they would let somebody in with a camera, kind of, you know, like Army Painters, just letting people in with a camera. It's crazy. Cool. Yeah.
So the first Kickstarter there, I think the delivery of the paints was 6 months after that they said they were aiming for, which is not bad at all. Like,
not bad.
You know, when they said what they thought their delivery date was going to be, like, oh, that seems very soon. And the Kickstarter went really well. They got a ton of orders for those paints, and they needed to figure out systems to bottle and label that many paints a lot faster. And
a lot of paints.
And so you can see where, some of that time went to, is like, oh, we gotta design machines to help us be more efficient and get this done. and they did, and now they've got a system, and now they're cranking through. And if they keep growing, I'm sure they'll substitute out of some of the plywood instruments that they build for themselves. Maybe get some aluminum in there, maybe right. steel eventually. We'll see. Yeah, the sky's the limit.
I was watching this, I think it was like a Linus Tech Tips or something. And they ordered this custom, like refrigeration unit to test like humidity and temperature and stuff for electronics. But they were talking about how kind of insane it is that, like, when you start to get into industrial equipment, how a lot of it, especially at a certain level, is basically just like that stuff at Transatlantis. It's like it's handmade, right? And it's very custom, even though it's like this big industrial unit. They just cover it in like nice white coverings, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what Dave was saying in the video. It's like, well, yeah, it's basically the same thing. It just doesn't have the big white box on it.
Sure.
Like, it's covering. It's the same thing. So it's probably not far off from the actual equipment that they will end up swapping it out for. And it'll still be handmade, just like you said, with aluminum instead of plywood.
Right. I mean, I think at the Army Painter, a lot of that stuff certainly was custom made itself, but with different materials. And they did at the Army Painter, every station, from setting the bottles upright to filling the bottles to capping to labeling, like, all of those are different stations, but they're all connected by a conveyor belt and automatically pass to each station down the line. Whereas in the video for Too Thin Coats, it was clear that, like, okay, they're at the bottling station. There is a dude who has, like, what looks to be a fairly efficient pump. He's got a pump, and he's got a little hose, and he's going through and he's filling each of the bottles in his tray. And then he's passing his tray to the next station where they're putting the tips on the bottles, and they're using machine to help screw the caps on the bottles, which are basically 2 lever presses for an employee. And those little machines obviously help a lot, but it still requires some input from the employee. And yeah, so as they get bigger, there will be some bigger changes than just changing plywood for steel. Like, there will be more automation eventually, presumably, but no, all of the homemade stuff was working well, and it's just fascinating to see. Yeah. So honestly, thank you to Army Painter for letting me in there. Thank you to Transatlantis Games for letting Pickle Jar and MS Paints in there. Fascinating to see what goes on behind the scenes. And yeah, for all of us viewers, like, what good luck that those 2 things happened at about the same time.
Yeah.
Like those two videos came out 2 days apart from each other, and neither of us knew that the other one was going on. And yeah, it's just like, here's what Army Painter isn't a huge company. 75 employees for like the number of countries they send stuff to is not that big. But
for the reach that they have, for sure. Yeah.
But for this little niche hobby, I mean, they're getting to be one of the bigger companies. I'm curious to see Citadel and Vallejo, essentially.
Like what they actually look like on the inside.
Yeah.
Companies that probably look exactly the same. They're just like, we're not letting anybody in here. Like, we don't want to show anybody.
I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know the numbers. It feels like Vallejo is probably certainly an older company than Army Painter. It feels like at this point it might be a little bigger, but not a lot bigger.
Yeah. I mean, considering like I find it pretty hard to find Vallejo almost anywhere.
Well, you don't live in Europe.
Well, I know that's my point though. It's like if they're only delivering to that area, mostly, right? Other than a few select places in the States or whoever carries them, like that could make the difference in the type of manufacturing that they're doing or the size. So I don't. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, within like our painting minis hobby, Army Painter is one of the larger facilities at this point, probably. Again, Citadel is probably bigger. I don't know where they bottle their paints. Vallejo might be bigger. It might at least have like a couple of different lines because they have some different bottle shapes. But I don't know.
They have bottle shapes?
Well, they've got their like metallic line. Or the
right, like the thick bottles. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because they put some of their washes in there too. Yeah, they have like a dark wash and a rust wash and stuff that they put in those same bottles.
Sure.
So yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, no, we got a treat and we got to see 2 paint bottling facilities on kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, like a smaller one and a bigger one. And now, of course, I'm fascinated. I would love to.
I know, right?
It just whets the appetite. I want to see more.
Yeah. No, it'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe someday.
I mean, maybe someday. Yeah, someday.
Get Angel to go to the Vallejo facility. Get in there, Angel.
Yeah, he probably could.
We'll start a campaign to get him in there. We'll make a change.org petition to get Angel Geraldes into the Vallejo paint bottling facility.
Yeah, exactly. Just start spam emailing him like, you need to just come on.
Yeah, get over there. Yeah.
Just start sending these videos to him and be like, hey, come on. Yeah. Like, we want to see what's going on. Yeah. Oh man.
Someday.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. But what else?
Well, since we kind of talked about Kickstarter a little bit and long wait times, I just got in the mail after, I swear it's been like 3 years, the Creature Caster skirmish game, the Judgment Eternal Champions.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's been a minute since I backed that, and I honestly, it's been so long I can't even remember. It's got to be at least 2 or 3 years. But pretty exciting. It came with a really sweet like neoprene hex grid mat in the box, like a real big one too. So it's nice, like almost as nice as your desktop are there. Like I'd feel pretty good about having that down. So it's like a play mat. I thought that was extra fancy. I may have paid extra for that, and I literally just don't remember. So, if yours didn't come with that, that's probably why. But the models are sweet.
Yeah.
Like, and they're the hard PVC, stuff, which, in the past has been real bad. And I mean, even from other companies where I've gotten them, I've been kind of disappointed. but these are actually pretty nice. They're
from Creature Caster.
Yeah, Creature
Caster
yeah.
has PVC minis. Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
that's their thing. So and they're I think they're 28 millimeter scale, or it's either 28 or 32, but they're small scale. They're not 75 millimeters. You know,
right.
Like big monsters and stuff.
Because Creature is kind of famous for their resin pours, but they also did get into COcast. So are you mistaking COcast minis for PVC?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe. Sorry,
no, I'm pretty sure they're
okay.
PVC.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure. Now I'm gonna have to look. Damn it.
Sorry.
No, but I'm pretty sure it is.
The podcast for accurate information.
At least 99% of the time. Close enough. It's good enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, the quality of the actual sculpts, the way they look, like, is Creature Cast. Really, they're awesome. Some of the stuff in there is really cool.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that because it's, you know, another skirmish game on the pile of skirmish games I want to try. And I know for sure that they're going to be doing another demo of that game at Adepticon this year because we didn't get to play it last year. Like, we ended up talking to, like, Linstall, I think, for a while next to where they were doing the demos.
That's right.
So
That's
it was like,
hey,
like,
Lynn, how you doing?
okay, I guess we'll hang out for a little while. And then I forgot about it, but yeah, so I'm kind of stoked about that because, you know, I've really been wanting to kind of branch out and just play more games in general. Like, I don't know, like, I don't play a lot of games in a year, you know, like a handful. And I'm just always trying to think of ways to turn that around. Like, I've really wanted to do like live streaming on my channel as an excuse to just play more games. You know, it's like, well, I'm working, so I gotta, you know, play this game, you know, which I think is a perfectly valid reason, you know. But yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Everything looks pretty good. And I'm also hoping that we can do some Shadespire. Since I painted these goblins, I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should hop into that too, just cause.
Yeah.
Because now I got this painted warband, like, for no reason. Like, okay.
I'll play some Shadespire with you.
Okay, I'll bring them then. I'll bring them because I'm already bringing models, so I might as well.
Yeah, I'll bring my fundamentals band. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the one I painted. Yeah.
When did you paint that?
For a video 3.5 years ago. That was the like start painting video that I did, and it's the. Yeah, that was a warband from Underworlds. It was the... Oh man, I'm forgetting what they're called now. But yeah, the chaosy, like, barbarian ones.
I literally don't remember. You know, it's interesting. Weird that we've both been doing this for... It'll be 5 years in... I guess about now, actually. About now.
For
somewhere
me,
around
September
now.
11th. It'll be 5 years.
Is it September? Okay, well, for me, it was a little bit before.
I think I actually posted my first video on September 10th, but 11th is funnier.
Too soon? Okay.
Too soon.
Yeah. No, it's been a while, so that's weird. Like, because I was talking about goblins, right? And I was like, well, I know I've painted a crap load of goblins, right? And I was looking at it, it's like, oh, yeah, that was a long time ago. Like, a long time ago. Like, in video land, it's, like, weird to go back
memories.
That far.
Yeah,
like watching some of that, being like,
track it back, and right about here.
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to check that and see how long your hair was back then. You're like, I haven't cut it since it started.
Not nearly enough.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's hard to remember back that far though sometimes. Like, what was the model I painted? What was the thing? I don't know anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, but you look, maybe you have a whole Warhammer Underworlds warband, and if you can find the cards that go with it, and they're not just like in the bottom of your van somewhere, you might be ready to play.
I did. The cards were in the Ziploc bag that I had, so I have all the cards.
And
I don't have like dice or anything. Or
did you just have a moving box in your van for the past 9 months? Is that what you're telling me? Or was it just like the plastic baggie was in like a cup holder in the back row of seats? That
would have been funnier. I wish I could tell you that, but no. So remember I was saying it was the like cheapy plastic bins that you get from like Walmart. They're just drawers, but they're plastic. They always like fall apart and stuff. So I picked that up. It was in my hobby space. I just picked up the whole thing, and it has all sorts of hobby stuff in it. And I just tossed it in my van.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Like the other day, I was like, I need to find these Stormcast Eternal shoulder pads that I know I have somewhere and I still can't find. So I went out after I checked everything in my hobby space. I went through boxes. I went into my garage. Of course, finding even more hobby stuff that wasn't the thing I was looking for, but I found a bunch of stuff. Like, it took me most of the day, and then I was like, oh, no, I've got a whole thing in the van. So I went to the van and, opened the back doors of the van, and there's my whole hobby thing. And they weren't in there either, but these goblins were, so... Yeah, set them aside.
Win some, you lose some. Yeah.
Couldn't find shoulder pads, but I found goblins, so... Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. But yeah, like doing games, I think is where I want to be this year. Adepticon, like
Adepticon,
just a little games here and there.
Try to say yes
try
to demo games and give it a shot. And if you see me at Adepticon and you're standing in front of a demo game and you want to play a demo game and you're willing to explain about like a third of the rules to me in the most simplistic of forms. That sounds amazing. I would love that.
Yeah, I would love that. Please talk to me like I am a small child. That's all I need really is to get going.
Yeah.
I mean, and like we've said before, like when we did play that Conquest game, that's basically how that went. And now it's like, yeah, man, I'll play some Conquest. I understand that. Like, I don't think I could play it now.
Oh, I'm gonna... if there's an empty demo game, a Conquest going on, rematch,
might as well.
Casey. Rematch.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call. That's a good call, because I can't remember who won last year. I think it was me.
I feel like I had some really good moments, but you won. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. It might have been set up that way, though. Like, whoever was on that side of the table.
You had a giant, but now I have giants. But I don't know.
You literally have giants, yes.
Yeah.
Which is good. Oh man, that reminds me. I screwed up pretty bad the other day.
What'd you buy?
So I've been I didn't. That's the problem. I didn't buy. Yeah. So of course, I frequently look at eBay in general, but of course, I have saved searches set up for Parabellum's Conquest. And I get daily notifications via email for all the keywords and things about Conquest. And generally the same things pop up. And I don't buy them because they're the same things that I already don't want. Which, says a lot about the used market and Conquest and the state of things currently. I don't really want to get into that. But the other day, a sweet listing popped up, and it was like, here's an entire like Nord army or whatever it is with the giants, right? There was a giant and a bunch of different squads of guys and all the stuff that came with it, plus unopened boxes, unbuilt models, and all these things. And it was like, oh, starting bid $100. I'm like, okay, that's a reasonable place to start. This probably costs $300 or $400, maybe even more. And I was like, okay, I'll save that for later because it's like 4 or 5 days left or whatever. And I sat on it and I seriously looked at it at least once a day. Okay, there's no bids on it. This is looking pretty promising. Last day rolls around and I legitimately completely forgot. I didn't set a timer. I didn't put a snipe bid in. I didn't do any of that. And it went for $100. And I screwed myself out of like the thing I've been waiting for Conquest on eBay to like legitimately go all in and make something cool. And I'm sorry. I apologize. It's just
I'm sorry too.
it's terrible.
It happens. And I
feel
for
happen,
you.
But,
I feel for you. You know?
It sucks.
Oof.
Yeah.
You'll get him next time, Casey. You'll get him next time.
I mean, maybe.
You just gotta you stay on it with those search results. You stay on it with try not to give in to your forgetfulness and try to pay attention. Or just buy it now. A true warrior would buy it now.
I would have. There was no buy it now. I would have. Believe me, if it was $100, I would have immediately clicked that button. There's no way. Like, even if I didn't have $100, I'd be like, well, what can I do to get $100 so I can buy this now? Because
before the eBay loan sharks come to get you.
Yeah, exactly. Got to do so. Yeah, get that PayPal credit card real quick. Just give me that. Yeah, don't do that. It's a terrible idea.
We do not condone going into debt for Conquest minis.
No. In general, it's just a bad idea. Like, plastic tends to hold its value, but interest will kill you, so don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Credit advice, Bravely the podcast.
Well, on that note.
Thank you again for joining us on another episode of Paint Bravely. If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and sharing this message with your hobby friends. And as always, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. There should be a credit disclaimer, like, don't take